stop staring at that spicy squid skewer in your hand. If you could travel back for 170 million years, who eats whom would be far from certain. During the Ordovician period, nature conducted an insane biomechanical experiment. It took a ferocious cephalopod covered in giant suckers and crammed it into a 9-meter-long, multi-ton, heavily armored conical shell. This was Earth's very first apex ocean predator, the absolute deep-sea reaper, Cameroceras, in an era when not even a single true fish had yet evolved. The arrival of Cameroceras was like bringing a nuclear weapon into a beginner's arena. At that time, the vast majority of life was still no bigger than a fingernail, and yet this creature, a biological submarine the size of a city bus, had already begun its tens of millions of years long bloody reign of terror. But have you ever wondered, how could such an overpowered apex predator ultimately become a casualty of evolution? To truly grasp the terror of Cameroceras, we need to break down its era-defining biological arsenal. First, its overwhelming physical dominance. A 9-meter body length may seem unremarkable today, but during the Ordovician, among all living organisms, it cast the only shadow that could blot out the light above. When it glided over the seafloor, it was like a living skyscraper in motion. No hunting skill was even needed. The sheer water pressure displaced by its body was enough to crush tiny organisms to pieces. Second was its prehistoric cutting-edge technology, the buoyancy control system. Its massive conical shell was by no means a solid, rigid piece of bone. Its interior was divided by precisely engineered septa into hundreds of gas-filled chambers through a biological conduit called the siphuncle. Cameroceras could, much like a modern nuclear submarine, regulate internal gas pressure within seconds to achieve perfect vertical buoyancy control. In an age when every other creature was still clumsily crawling along the ocean floor, it had already mastered three-dimensional supremacy of the seas. Most chilling of all was its predatory arsenal. Cameroceras possessed the most advanced neural clusters in the ocean, along with a pair of enormous, highly light-sensitive eyes. In the pitch-black deep sea, it was like a raptor, equipped with built-in infrared sensors. Once it locked onto a target, dozens of thick, barb-covered tentacles would clamp down on its prey like a vice grip. Then its beak, as powerful as a hydraulic press, would snap shut in an instant. Against a crushing bite force of several tons, any armor that creatures of that era boasted crumbled like a thin wafer. Yet nature is fair. It gave Cameroceras invincible offense and defense, but buried deep within its fundamental design lay a fatal flaw. That flaw was its 9-meter-long, completely rigid, unbendable orthocone shell. Although the shell provided unmatched defense, it turned Cameroceras into a heavy-duty truck with no steering wheel. Due to the hydrodynamic limitations of its rigid shell, Cameroceras could only travel in a straight line underwater. Even more absurdly, its propulsion came from a jet siphon hyponon near its head. This meant that when it charged, it was mostly traveling backward, completely blind. Just imagine a multi-ton prehistoric Grim Reaper hurtling backward at torpedo speed, unable to see ahead. If its prey dodged even slightly, this out-of-control biological torpedo would, due to its massive inertia, crash headlong into the reef on the ocean floor, unable to right itself for ages. This straight-line-only hunting strategy could dominate an ecosystem of primitive creatures, but with the arrival of a new wave of predators, Cameroceras' golden age came to an abrupt end. The ecological rules of the ocean during the Silurian period underwent a massive evolutionary overhaul. A wave of new species, agility class predators, stormed onto the scene. These were the massive, yet incredibly agile giant eurypterids, and early-jawed fish with flexible mandibles. These new era competitors no longer relied on heavy armor. They had invested everything in speed and intelligence against opponents that could flank, ambush, and use terrain to evade. Cameroceras found itself hopelessly outmatched. No matter how devastating its attacks, they were useless if they couldn't connect. No matter how thick its armor, it couldn't stop packs of rivals from stealing its prey. This former deep-sea dreadnought, despite its legendary arsenal, became nothing more than a living target in front of these agile predators. As the global climate shifted dramatically and sea levels dropped, those shallow sea sanctuaries gradually vanished. With its colossal size, staggering energy demands, and zero maneuverability, Cameroceras became the ocean's most tragic overlord. It didn't die in battle. It died because the era left it behind, trapped within the very armor that once made it invincible, but now suffocated it under its crushing weight. The extinction of Cameroceras left behind a brutal law of survival. Never sacrifice overall adaptability for a false sense of localized security. In the arena of evolution, every species that stubbornly clung to its rigid shell eventually ended up as nothing more than a fossil in a museum. But the descendants of Cameroceras, the intelligent octopuses and squids, made a revolutionary decision that defied their ancestors. They completely shed their heavy armor and chose to go shell-free. They traded rigid shells for soft, flexible bodies, gained the agility of jet propulsion, and acquired the mastery of chromatophore camouflage, from 9-meter-long armored behemoths to today's elusive masters of the deep. This was a redemption spanning hundreds of millions of years. Through the tragedy of Cameroceras, nature teaches us, the ones who have the last laugh, who truly rule the seas, never relied on armor alone. The ultimate survivors are those who best adapt to the rules and dare to break them. So the next time you sit at a street stall, staring at that sizzling grilled squid or spicy squid skewer in your hand, please show these shell-free survivors the respect they deserve. After all, that little snack in front of you shed its ancestors' 9-meter-long heavy shackles, and in a brutal 400 million year elimination tournament, emerged as the ultimate winner who had the last laugh.